Belzer passing. Lou Williams for the win. Bingo!
Oh my goodness.
By Landry, Ariza drop down. Kobe! Oh! Up high! Down hard! Kobe Bryant!
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
Kawhi aggressive to the rack.
Green and Paul. And he got it! 1 second left. Clippers by 2. Gian to inbound. Now they got Jordan in front of them. Inside, Leonard knocked away. Barnes, the defending champions have gone. And the Clippers have ripped the heart out of the Spurs. And it won this most dramatic series by 2.
Clipper Nation! Yes, sir. We are live from Los Angeles. What the hell is going on with my screen? Live from Los Angeles. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Paul is home. CP3, the news has come out today that Chris Paul, arguably the greatest Clipper of all time, has returned home to LA where he belongs. Before we get into any of the actual basketball stuff with this iteration of the Clippers, you got to subscribe on YouTube for all things LA Clippers all season long, all things LA sports, the home of LA pro basketball, and of course, all things NBA as well. You can become a member as well for extra perks and my post season coverage of this past season that I didn't post yet. But man, before we even speak about his current fit on the team, we got to talk about like what this actually means. You know, I had a tweet the other day saying that I don't think we need Chris Paul with Beal. And I still, from a basketball perspective, kind of stand by that. I don't think we needed Chris Paul. I think it's definitely just injury insurance. You know, having 11 guys with 11 really playable guys, beyond playable, 11 good basketball players at the NBA level, just in case. You know, we know Kawhi is going to miss games. We know Bradley Beal is going to miss games. But I think what changed my opinion was Lawrence Frank's quote the other day. I think it was either yesterday or the day before, where he said, when Lon Murray asked him if we're trying to get Chris Paul, he said that, you know, he learned about what having too many options could do. Yeah, here we go. Learn from those lessons about having too many players you need to play and the issues that it can present. Frank said that the players who will join from now on have to understand it's a reserve role for them, which essentially means that CP3 is not guaranteed to play every game. I think guys like Nicholas Batum aren't guaranteed to play every game. So it's going to take major buy-in from these 11 guys. And also, it's another very big season for Ty Lue. Everybody always says too much depth. Great problem to have. It's only a great problem to have if your coach manages it correctly. But forget all of that. Chris Paul is back home for his last season, year 21. I can't believe that this day has come. I feel like I've not dreamt about it, but hoped that one day maybe this could happen, that Chris could return. But I didn't understand in what context it really made sense. And, you know, everybody was talking about Chris wants to start. Chris wants a major role. I think there was only one condition that in which he would be okay not playing a ton of minutes. And that was right here with us, you know, right here with his family. You know, little Chris is going to Campbell Hall. He's about to be in high school. No, he's going into 10th grade unless he reclassed. And it's just, I think Chris is ready to accept a reserve role now that he is home and he is with his family. While he might not get all the perks of getting a ton of minutes on the court, he gets to be the dad that he's wanted to be with his family off the court. I don't really know what to. I mean, it's hard to put into words what this means. Chris Paul changed everything. He is to me the greatest Clipper of all time, right alongside Blake Griffin. I would say Blake Griffin before today was number one, just because he didn't want to leave. Chris Paul did want to leave, but again, there was two sides to it. He could get more money if he opted in to the final year of his contract and then signed a new one with Houston after. But when he did that, he also gave us the ability to trade him and end up getting Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, and Patrick Beverley, which ushered in that next era of Clipper basketball. So, I mean, I've always been thankful for Chris. I see so many fans that are going to act like, oh, I never hated on him. Like, now he's back. Welcome home, King. Like, nah, bro, we saw you booing. We saw you being completely unappreciative. And I get it. Like, you can be bitter against a guy. Like, when the Cavs fans were bitter against LeBron, that was totally warranted. To me, Chris Paul, the hate of Chris Paul was completely unwarranted. He literally transformed this franchise from a bottom dweller laughing stock into a team that made the playoffs year in, year out with 50-plus wins and sold out season after season. Blake Griffin, as great as he was, I don't think he would have brought in the winning the way Chris Paul did. I don't know if we would have ever even made the playoffs consecutive years if it was just Blake Griffin by himself. Now, granted, we potentially could have had Kyrie Irving if we didn't trade Baron Davis for Mo Williams. But, man, CP3, the worst thing he said was he questioned the Clippers culture about why we aren't trying to compete with Golden State when Glenn Rivers was the president of basketball operations and the coach at the same time and paid his son instead of trading for Melo, which CP3 wanted. So I don't blame Chris Paul for those comments at all. I think that, yeah, maybe he was a little bit unappreciative, or maybe a little bit unprofessional, I should say. But he felt that way. I think he had every right to feel that way. It just maybe wasn't good to hear it out loud. But I was never bitter. So, I mean, it was just disgraceful that Chris Paul even got booed in the first place. I know there was the tunnel incident, the secret passageway, the Sun series. Look, what did he do in the Sun series that was so bad? Of course, Chris is a whiner. Chris is a diva. Chris is, a foul baiter, but he's our diva. He's our foul baiter. You know what I'm saying? I always said when it was all said and done, even if he hadn't come back, and that's what I was saying. I think the all-time Clipper GOAT is a discussion again now that Chris Paul's back for a second chapter to end here. It's just such a feel-good story. But it's crazy, man. This Phoenix series, I mean, he just beat us. You know what I'm saying? Patrick Beverley pushed him. Is that Chris Paul's fault? Like, what's the problem there? Then even after the season, he even shouted us fans out. I'm sorry, even after that series. So people were so bitter they didn't want to hear it, but now he's back. Like, again, the 11 players thing is for the coaching staff to figure out, but like I was a Darren Williams guy, when I was a kid. I was actually a Darren Williams guy. But then we got Chris Paul, and like as a kid growing up playing point guard in LA, like Kobe wasn't a point guard. I didn't really resonate with the way he played. He was just a crazy shot maker, just so good. I just could never play that way. And the crazy thing is, for those that are wondering, Dime, you hate ball pounding, heliocentric ball dominators like Chris Paul. Like, how do you like this guy? When I was young, I didn't have the same opinions about guys like that. So my opinion has changed. So yes, I don't love the way Chris Paul plays anymore. I have grown to see that he can be detrimental to ball movement and to championships because of that. Even though he helps teams win, the way that he plays is a stagnant, slow. The same criticisms I have of James Harden, a lot of them can apply to Chris Paul, but the only difference being that he embraces the mid-range more. But I do think that's part of the reason why he hasn't won. He always wants control of the ball, all this stuff. I get it. But when I was a fan of his or when he was on the team, I didn't view the game this way because I myself was a player that dominated the ball when I played basketball. And I looked up to Chris, man. I had his poster in my room. I had his jersey. I had his shoes. He was my favorite player on the team. He was my favorite player in the league alongside LeBron, funny enough. But like Chris changed my life as a fan. He changed all of our lives as a fan. And that's undeniable. You know, I'll never forget when we found out the news that he was actually going to be a Clipper and not a Laker. And it's like, I just couldn't believe that maybe our fate had changed. You know, maybe finally we were going to be able to be a consistent winning franchise. And I remember I went into my 8th grade history class, and my teacher, who was a Celtics fan from Maine, he was like, "You got a guy with bad knees and you think you're going to win a championship?" It's funny because I never said we were going to win a championship, even during Lob City. But it's funny we were talking about a guy with bad knees who's still playing. And that was in 2011 he was making that comment. Who's still playing in 2025 and will be playing in 2026. And that first game against Golden State on Christmas, the way Chris closed that game, that's when I knew, like, wow, like we really have a superstar again. Or like a superstar. Like, I don't know if you consider Elton Brand a superstar. In 06, he kind of was, but it was 1 year, and it had been so long since I had felt that again. And I mean, I know he got outdueled by Derrick Rose, Chris Paul, just 2 games later, but the memories that season, I'll never forget going to game 4 of the Grizzlies series and seeing him take over that overtime. And as we were in the concession stands on the way out of the arena, that we were chanting CP3, CP3. And I remember, I remember yelling, it's like, I love you, Chris Paul. Like, he was my guy. He changed everything. And I mimicked his moves, you know, his fake between the legs pass where he'd bring it back on the dribble, his behind the back, like the Baron Davis fake behind the back pass to himself, weaving to your right for the mid range. I mean, I looked up to this guy. Like, he was one of my heroes. And for better and for worse, you know, the emotions, all that. I wasn't the type of kid that would yell at my teammates. I'm still not the type of guy that does that. But you guys know I'm emotional. You know, I'm an emotional guy. CP3 is an emotional guy. But what really made me love Chris Paul is that I knew that he always cared. He always cared so much about winning. He always cared about, you know, lifting this franchise into being a contender, and he would go extra hard against the Lakers, and he always expressed that he wanted to win for this franchise. And I thought that he and Blake Griffin were just such great ambassadors of this franchise, to the point where, like, you know, how could you not get behind them? And that's been my whole thing with Chris Paul. With Paul George, with Kawhi. It's like Paul George would say all the right things, but then he would not play hard. And then Kawhi Leonard just doesn't say anything. You know, he just doesn't do all the like the face of the franchise, stuff like that. He just kind of is how he is. Harden has been more of a really embrace the franchise leadership role very well. I just think Harden, certain times, I just have to question his effort and how much he really wants to win. I know everybody's saying, like, the front office, by the way, the front office loves James Harden so much. Like, Lawrence Frank loves this guy. I don't know, was he a fan of his, like, big time before he came? But I'm just saying, he's like, all James wants to do is win. All James wants to do is win. Like, okay, if it was up to me, if all James wanted to do was win, he would open his eyes a little bit about the way he plays basketball, but he's not going to do that. And then alongside that, you know, chicken shit not being available for media after game 7 when you stunk it up like that. I don't have much respect for that. So, like, I'm not going to give James Harden a pass. I'm just going to say that he's been a great ambassador for the Clippers so far, but the GOAT is back, guys. The Clipper GOAT is back. And whether you think it's Blake Griffin or you think it's Chris Paul, number 1 or number 2 is back. The greatest Clipper, like the best Clipper on our team all time, is arguably the 10th or 11th man. But it's going to be so special, man. I mean, the only thing that is bitter for it's like that sucks for me is I wish I still had my Chris Paul jersey. I had a New Orleans Hornets Chris Paul jersey in the 08 season that I bought with my friend. So, like, even though I was a Darren Williams guy, I still liked CP. And then we got him. And I wouldn't say it was a dream come true, but I grew to love him. And I remember, I mean, you know, 2013 when we lost to Memphis, it was the last time I cried tears, sad tears for basketball or for sports. Because I remember thinking, what if Chris Paul leaves? You know, what if he leaves after 2 years? Because at that point, people didn't want to be Clippers. We still had Donald Sterling. And the fact that he stayed and re-signed, I know part of it was because we got Glenn Rivers. That was his whole thing. And I was just so appreciative. You know what I'm saying? 2014, he spazzed. You know, there's nobody you can blame besides Chris Paul for 2014, I think, against the Thunder. He totally lost his composure. He foul baited. He turned the ball over. And I think he knows that. But then I felt like he had that moment in 2015 where he overcame those demons and he got over the hump. And, you know, he dragged us with that hamstring past the Spurs. And, you know, I was in the building for the following playoff games. 2012 against Memphis, game 4. 2013, game 2, where Chris made a game winner. 2014, every single home game of the Golden State series. Game 4 of the Thunder series and game 6 against the Spurs. I went to every home game. I went to game 4 against the Rockets. I went to every home game against the Blazers and every home game against the Jazz. I went to almost every home game in the playoffs that Chris played for us. So, like, this is going to be emotional, man. Like, you know, it's funny. It's like the last couple of years I've said that because I've done this media job or like Locked On, and, you know, I've really lost faith in Kawhi and Paul George. And I felt like, you know, we got off to a rough start in the bubble with this 2-on-3 era. And I think in 2021, they really won me back over. And I was really positive those next 2 years. But 2023, it did something to me, like as a person. Like it did. I know that sounds really dramatic, but it really did something to me as a person where like I was so mad because I'm covering the Clippers to a degree that I never have. Like back in the day, come home from school, watch the games, go talk about it with your friends the next day, go to some games. That was it. Now I'm attending every game. I'm covering every game on 2 different channels. I'm doing 5 episodes a week on Locked On Clippers during the off season. I've never been more involved with the Clippers than I am now as a 26-year-old going on 27 in 13 days adult. So when I care so much, it hurts me that much more. And in 2023, that's when I had everybody coming at me on Twitter saying I was a negative Nancy. You know, I'm bad for the fan base. I'm a complainer and all this stuff. And they started getting a little personal with me, you know, started saying things about who I was that were completely inaccurate. And I just didn't feel comfortable about that. I just felt, you know, hard done by. And like, I get it. Like the higher you go in the business, you have more haters. But like, you know, I just thought some of this stuff was very uncalled for. And I just disagreed with the approach of the franchise so much, the load management, you know, the privilege and the preferential treatment that we were giving Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And I really got disenchanted with what we were doing. And I had my expectations on the floor. And I said, you know, I got to find a way to not care so much because it's just too much. It's just too much if I care this much. You know, I shouldn't care this much about something I don't have an effect on. And people used to tell me, control what you can control. Does complaining help you? Actually, for me, it does. It's my way of venting. It's my way of expressing myself to the fans. We got 422 people in this chat right now listening to me talk about this. By the way, if you're one of the 300 plus on Twitter, please come over to YouTube. My link is posted on my Twitter page. I want to get 13,000 subscribers. It means a lot to me to build up this platform because it's what I put all my work into. So please come over to YouTube. It would really mean a lot to me. I know Twitter, you guys love Twitter, but it's right there. The link is there. But anyway, it was a moment where I had to realize in life, like I had to change the way I did things. And then the rumors started coming around that we were going to get James Harden. And everybody knows I can't stand the way James Harden plays. Like he was my least favorite player to watch. And so when we got him, that's when I was like, because I was already negative about the 2-on-3 era. I was already like, I'm trying to trade Chris Paul and Paul George. And when we got James Harden, I was like, dude, like I can't win. Like it's done. Like I either have to stop being a Clipper fan or just cover the team as an objective media member and like not get my emotions attached. Because I can't do this. Like this is, I was so down bad. Like nobody should be that down bad over their favorite team signing a good basketball player. But again, I just don't think James Harden's ever going to win a ring because of the way he plays and and some of his traits when it comes to the going gets tough. And I'm not going to change my opinion even if we have this incredibly stacked roster. That's just a basketball conviction that I'm going to die with. or die this, what's the word? That I'm going to ride out with until I get proven wrong. Until James Harden is holding up that Larry O'Brien and I can say that I'm the biggest clown on the face of the earth and that you should never listen to me talk about basketball ever again, then yes, I'll admit I was wrong. But I've not seen any evidence to disprove what I think. The reality, though, is the Clippers got so much better this offseason. Like, when you think we might be too, like, out of the woods, the front office, Lawrence Frank, Trent Redden, they went out there and did their thing this offseason. They addressed our backup center concern. They got a big power forward. They got secondary ball handlers for for James Harden. And they got a Norman Powell replacement that can do more off the bounce. I mean, they definitely went out there and did their thing. But going back to like the fandom thing, because I keep going on a tangent, I have not felt the same way as a fan since we got Harden. Like, I'm just going to be very honest. I've expressed that in my end of the season video. If you haven't checked that out, go check it out. But I've literally felt like I cover the team now. Like, I do like when we win, but to genuinely tell you the truth, I have not been nervous for a Clipper game, like proper nervous. And if I am nervous, it's only due to my own content. Like, it's selfish reasons why I'm nervous. It has nothing to do with the team. Like, it's selfish. I'll be very honest about that because I just don't believe in the team, like, winning it all. Like, I believe that we could win a round. Like, I did think we were going to beat the Nuggets, which was delusional of me, honestly, to think that James Harden, a team with James Harden on it, would beat a good basketball team because he hasn't beat like a great playoff team since the 3-1, literally. Which is the truth, by the way. Like, OKC in 2017 is not that good of a team. The Jazz in 2019 is not that good of a team. But I haven't gotten proper nervous, like, straight up. I haven't gotten sad when we've lost. Like, I've only sad because my content's done. So today is a different day because we're bringing back someone from my childhood listen, I don't care if Chris Paul wins a ring or not, but I did with us. It was like that ex-girlfriend, right? It's like you break up with your ex, you still wish her the best, but you don't want her to find love before you do. That's the truth. And now maybe we can make it work again. I hope, and I'm feeling a little bit of it today, that the fandom part in me is coming back. That I might actually, but it's weird, right? Because like I'm so strong about my James Harden's never going to win a ring stance and Kawhi's never going to win us a ring stance. But now we have Chris Paul back, and I really want him to win a ring with us. And it would be such a feel-good story, a storybook ending. We're just too old, in my opinion, to win a ring. Like, this is everyone's calling us the unction and all this stuff. Valid. I mean, we're old as shit. But man, okay, hold on one second. I want to address this comment. Enjoy the ride. There's nothing to be nervous about. Have some belief and confidence. I agree with you. There's nothing to be nervous about, but have some belief and confidence. I don't agree with that shit because I'm not on the team and I don't coach the team. So me having belief and confidence means absolutely nothing to the actual product. It doesn't mean anything. What matters is if I'm going to be in the wall making noise and losing my voice during the playoffs, which I hope you are as well, Trey Baker. But I don't believe that, like, positivity will manifest the team into winning. Like, bro, are you calling the sets? Your positivity ain't doing shit unless you're in the fucking crowd. So miss me with that bullshit. But anyway, not to be mean, Trey Baker. I know you're a supporter. But it's like, I don't care about being wrong. That's the thing. Like, if I'm wrong about Kawhi Leonard and he ends up bringing us a ring and he's the Clipper GOAT, dude, I'll take my L. I don't care. My dream of seeing my favorite team win a championship will have come true. And I'll take my L on James Harden and acknowledge how great he is and say that, you know what? But to me, his style of play is going to have to change a little bit if he wants to win a championship. He can't just dominate the ball like that and expect to win. But let's forget about championship, man. Like, let's ignore that discussion. As far as the fit, I'll talk about that in like 5 minutes. But I just hope that this revives my the fandom aspect for me, that I get nervous during games again, that I have a real rooting interest that goes beyond my own selfish reasons of getting views and the season continuing for my content. Because I said I feel like it won't happen until until Kawhi and James are off my team. Because I really don't like having them on my team, truthfully. But Chris is back. And Chris legitimately changed my life as a fan. He brought more joy to me on a day-to-day basis as a kid. And like I always say, it hits harder when you're not enjoying your life as much. Like now that I'm a coach and I have my own like club team and I coach all these teams, I don't care as much about the Clippers winning or losing because I have my own teams that I'm building and the culture that I'm building. So I don't get as worked up. And I'm getting older. I guess that's part of it too. But when I was a kid and you have a shitty day at school and then you come home and your favorite team gives you that joy at the end of the night, there's nothing quite like that. And Chris Paul gave me a lot of great moments. 2015 Game 7. I know we choked in Game 6 of this next round, and that hurt. And I think Chris Paul, he did have a bum hamstring, but him as your number one go-to reliable scorer in crunch time, that had its limitations. And I think you saw that in that Game 6 against the Rockets. He had 10 points, I believe, in the fourth, but it felt so hard for him to get those 10 points. And I just don't think Chris Paul was ever a number one on a championship team. How many small guards or how many point guards are the true number one on a championship team? You can add SGA to that list now, but it's SGA, Clyde Frazier, Isaiah Thomas, and Stephen Curry and Magic. That's it. Those are the only guys that are the consensus best players on a championship team that were point guards. And if you want to make them smaller guards, 6'3" and under, you remove Clyde Frazier, SGA, and Magic from the equation. It's just Steph Curry and Isaiah Thomas. So, I mean, Chris Paul should have been a second option, and I think he realized that. That's why he teamed up with James. But now it's interesting. You have James and Chris Paul returning together. You have Kawhi, who played against Chris Paul with the Clippers, and then Chris Paul, who played against Kawhi later, flip-flopped, and now they're together. And, I mean, just the storylines are insane, right? And this would be a great year to have Ralph Lawler do his number retirement. This would be a great year to have Blake Griffin do his number retirement with Chris Paul there on the team. I mean, how special would that be? It's just a big picture, feel-good story. And as I said, I hope my joy in being a fan comes back again, and that like optimistic innocence of me comes back again, like of just wanting the team to win and being hyped when we do. But it's just like hard because we've gotten heartbroken so many times that I'm just like very even keeled. Like even during the regular season, like when we win or lose, I'm just like very even keeled. But I just hope I can find some more. I know I'm talking to myself to a degree here, but like I hope I can find more enjoyment in what the actual team's doing, because instead of what just I'm doing and what the fans are doing, that's what kind of was like the highs for me this year. But Chris Paul is back and it means the world. Like I always said that Chris Paul spent 6 years with the Hornets, 6 years with us, but he'll always be more remembered as a Clipper. When Chris Paul retires, there'll be a lot of iterations that we can discuss. Hornets, Chris Paul, Rockets, Chris Paul, Suns, Chris Paul. But to me, when in 20 years, people are going to say, man, when CB3 was with the Lob City Clips, he was the man. And now the tiebreaker has been broken. 7 years a Clipper, the longest tenure of any team. And that makes me feel amazing, for one of the best point guards of all time. Welcome home, Chris. You're back where you belong. A hero's welcome is waiting for you at Intuit, the stadium that you helped build. Man, I remember I literally cried when the day that I woke up and saw that trade. I was watching Lob City highlights and I literally cried that it was over. And I never got a chance to cover Chris Paul as a Clipper for Dime Dropper. And I felt so shitty about the fact that I've been known as like this negative pessimist in my time as a content creator, because that's not what I was growing up. Like, truthfully, that is not who I was growing up. And anybody that went to school with me could tell you that. It's just this 2-1-3 era set the expectations so high, and they've failed to achieve that for injuries or for whatever reason. And I just haven't loved the faces of our franchise. I'm going to be honest. I haven't loved the way that it seems like Kawhi and Paul George had pride. He was just all talk. Kawhi Leonard, he's not that type of guy. He doesn't care about like ambassador stuff. And every time he even mentions the fans, it's the beat writers make sure they mention it, because people like me have been calling him out for like, dude, do you give a shit about us? Like, there's fans that support you, right? But Kawhi's not into all that, which is fine. It's who he is. But we need a guy that is. And James Harden's been great about that. I will give him that. But it's nothing like having Chris back, man. Chris embraces that all the way. He's a vocal guy. He embraces the leadership. And it's just, I know I wasn't too high on the move because 11 players that can play. It's on Ty Lue to manage it. Based on what Lawrence Frank said, Chris Paul seems to be okay with taking some DNPs some nights, which we'll see about that. But when Harden, I don't like the fit with he and Harden on the court together in 2025, 2026. Like, it's too stagnant. They don't want to move without the ball. It's very take turnsy. We don't want that for me. But when Harden's out of the game, we got a perfect guy that can still run pick and roll, just played 82 games and can still get to that right elbow mid-range. And man, with John Collins and Derrick Jones Jr., if CB3 throws some lobs, I might just shed a tear in the swell, man. So it's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing day, Clipper Nation. Our GOAT is back home. And I don't know. The little kid in me couldn't be more happy. He left our team when I was 18 years old. Yeah, 18 years old. And now he's back. As I'm 26 now. Welcome home, Chris. As far as the basketball fit, it's going to be tough now. We got 11 guys. Listen, Beal and Kawhi are going to miss games. So, like, when one of them misses a game, you've got 10 really good players right then and there. But Lawrence Frank said that, we play 9 guys more, typically. So it's going to be tough. People are coming in now, have to know that they're in a reserve role. But, yeah, I think, having CP3 run that second unit, pick and pops with Brook Lopez is going to be lethal. Zubats and Brook Lopez, I mean, they haven't made when it comes to the, they're pick and roll ball handlers. So it's going to be special for them. The one thing I'm a little bit afraid of is how many guards we have. Ty Lue loves his guards. We had a defensive identity last season. I'm just afraid that we have so many guards now that, you got Beal who you could pick on a little bit. You got Chris Paul who you could pick on a little bit. You got Harden you could pick on a little bit. Bogey. John Collins, I don't know how good of a one-on-one defender he's going to be. So there are some weaknesses there. But we have to me, the deepest team in the league, or right there with them. But I don't know. We have 11 good players now. So it's on Ty Lue and the coaching staff to get it right. It is not going to be easy. Hopefully he learned some lessons from 2023. But in the regular season, it won't be as big of an issue because Beal's going to miss games. Kawhi's going to miss games. Guys are going to miss games. But in the playoffs, when everyone's healthy, or when everyone's healthy throughout the season, what's it going to be? Are Chris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. still going to get enough minutes and be our point of attack guys that helped us be a top 3 defense in the league? I think these are all conversations that matter. So, again, I'm not super ecstatic about the basketball move just because I think it might overcomplicate things a little bit for our coach. But it's enough nostalgia to get over it. To have a player that I truly love back on the team. Like, I love Ivica Zubac. He's my favorite player on the team right now. But no, not anymore. He's got to move to second because Chris is back. Chris is fucking back. I'm just so sad that both my jerseys burned. Like, the smaller one didn't fit me anymore, but the other Chris Paul jersey fit me, and it burned. So I'm going to have to try to get a throwback Chris Paul jersey. I got to get an OG one. Throwback Chris Paul jersey and get a new one in my red. So I have 2 CP3 jerseys from both his tenures. That's the goal. So, man, there's too many comments in the chat, so I'm not going to read them all. I got to do Locked On. But if you guys have any super chats and you want me to read your comments, please, you can send a super chat. They're turned on if you want to drop $1 or a dime. I see tons of people in the chat, and I really appreciate all of you for tuning in. What a special day this is. 584 people in this chat. It's a special day, man, to have Chris Paul back. Like, it really is. Bradley Beal, you better choose a new number, buddy, because this is his number. So, yeah, hopefully not too many guard lineups. Hopefully we don't go too small. We are very old, and it's going to be a big year for Ty Lue. But all right, everyone, thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate you all. Go Clips, and welcome back, Chris. What you got, guys? Wow. Edward hating again. A leader of what? I mean, bro, if you're not going to act like he's not a leader. By the way, I've been asking Edward, let's watch game 7 of Clippers Jazz together. Because he keeps saying he quit in that game. And I just remember him not being able to create his own shot to a high enough level. And we didn't have any other shot creators besides like Austin Rivers and Jamal Crawford. So I would love to watch that game. Does anybody want to watch that game? Let's watch it right now. Let's go to playback right now and watch it. You guys down? Who's down? Hold on. Let's set it up real quick. I'm willing to do it. I'm truly willing to do it. One time for the one time, and then I have to do Locked On, and I have to release like 4 episodes for Locked On. Let's see. Where's my room? Did my room get disabled? The Dime Machine. What happened to the Dime Machine? I have Film Theater. Where is the Dime Machine? What? Man, did my Dime Machine get booted? Let's watch it. All right. We want to watch it? Are we down to watch it, guys? Edward. No, the real CP3 is Candace Parker. But she's better in her sport. Edward, are we going to watch it? Man, Bones got busy saying no. You still see the Dime Machine? Let's see. The Dime Machine. Yeah, there it is. Offline. Okay, let's see it. Hold on. Ooh, Clippers, Jazz, Game 7. Go live. Okay, hold on. Stream. We gotta go to League Pass, low key. This is so dope. CB3 is the reason I became a Clipper fan. All right, hold on. I'm not gonna end this stream yet because I want to post the link in there. I know, Judge Judy, we are old. Hold on, let's see. Oh wow, people are jumping in. We're gonna watch Chris Paul's last game as a Clipper right now. Yep, it was a brutal one, but we're gonna do it anyway. Okay, games. Let's go to 2017. So JD and all you guys that want to jump on the stage, we can actually talk we can watch the game together and talk during the game. So you don't have to just listen to me. Okay. April 2018. No, 2017. Fuck. April 2017. It was a Sunday. I think it was Sunday the 23rd. It's so sad I lost all my tickets. I used to have all my tickets, dude. Oh, it wasn't the 23rd. It was probably the 30th. Yep. All right, I got it. All right, here we go. Let me pull it up. Start stage. All right, send everybody the link to the playback. Hey, Edward, you better be in there since you're the one that wants to see quit. Get in there. Did you see the news dime? CB is a Clipper. Yeah, I don't know. I've just been live for. Send the link. Send the link. There you go. Join that link, everybody. Join that link. We're gonna watch Chris Paul's last game as a Clipper together. Peace. Have a great day. We'll see you in a sec.